The Social Screenwriters Podcast. The Social Screenwriters Podcast. The Social Screenwriters Podcast. Where Andy talks to people he met on the internet.
Hey there, everybody. Andy Compton here on YouTube in video, HD, 1080. Nice to see you. So I'm actually holding my microphone today that used to be on this little stand that wheels over. And last night it broke after I recorded the episode with Luke Barnett, episode 50 that you're about to watch. So that's why I'm holding the mic. But yeah, today is episode 50. Big day, big episode, definitely a milestone. I can't believe I've done 50 of these, but it's very cool. And to all the guests along the way, thank you so much for coming on the show and letting me pick your brain about writing. And to anyone who's ever listened, thank you so much. With the 50th episode, I'm also starting something new where I'm going to be doing video podcasts for every podcast. I might still do audio. I don't know, but I really want to drive all the traffic to just one place on my YouTube. And anyone who comes over and is part of this, I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to try it out. I sort of dabbled in it before. You'll see a couple videos on my YouTube, but not many of the podcast specifically. But not many. It was short-lived. And now I'm going to switch things up. And I hope you guys dig this. This episode's really good. Luke just put out a short film called OVATION that many of you may have already seen. It kind of went viral a little bit. He dropped it on Twitter, and it's basically a one-shot stationary camera, one single frame of an actor receiving one of those ridiculously long standing ovations at a Cannes Film Festival. I think it says 3 years in the future. And it's really, really good. It's such a good idea. We talk about it every year, those standing ovations, which, you know, I think it's cool because people deserve to be recognized for really good work, but also, yeah, they can get a little awkward. I could see around minute 9 being like, all right, I'm gonna sit down. I don't you guys don't have to, but I'm going to. Anyway, really smart short. And then we also talked about his other short that came out late last year called The Crossing Over Express, which you also may have seen. It went viral as well. And it's a really personal story that I'll let Luke tell later about, it being inspired by his mom, who he lost at 17 years old. And the chance encounter, I guess you could say, with someone sending him a video message of his mom. And, you'll hear Luke talk about this, but, he hadn't heard her voice in 20 years. And it kind of got him in the headspace to where he came up with this concept. And it's a really, really beautiful film. Highly suggest you watch it. But yeah, he's a writer, director, actor, producer. He's done a lot of things. Last time he was on the podcast talking about his Netflix movie that he produced called Your Lucky Day. And also I dropped a short film on YouTube called Nonstop. It's the story of two guys on their way to a bachelor party who want to get cocaine. And the only person they can think of to get cocaine from is an old high school acquaintance, kind of a sketchy dude that they don't really want to meet up with, but they kind of don't have a choice. It's funny. It's like we tried to make like a Jeremy Saulnier kind of thriller that's also just a bunch of dick jokes along the way. But yeah, go check that out. It's on my YouTube. Please go check it. And that's about it, guys. If you would be so kind, I'm going to ask you to do that thing. I don't know which side it's on, but if you'll like the video, if you'll leave a comment, that would be great as well. And say something smart Luke said, say something dumb that I said, and that's about it. Let's get into this episode with Luke Barnett.
Oh, we're going. Sorry, I didn't even think about us going. Yeah, great.
yeah,
You're
we're
listening
going,
to us in the podcast now.
No. This is all good stuff. People need to hear this.
Yeah, it's important.
But yeah, and also we just had a feature here with Eliza Schlesinger.
Yeah.
She wrote and produced it, and I had a few friends who were acting in that. Actually, a friend of mine, her, I think 3-year-old son is in it, cast as cute kid. And I just think that's such a cool time capsule to hold on to.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
But how are you, man? How are things in LA?
Everything's good, man. Yeah, I moved like 3 months ago, like 20 miles north of LA. So we're still like close enough that I go in like a couple days a week, but But it feels a bit like a different world, like where we are. It's just like really great schools and much more. I guess rural's not the right word, but it's definitely way quieter, like 10 times quieter. It's great. It's like, I love this area we moved to. So that's been great.
Yeah,
And I
nice.
do feel like I see the industry kind of coming back here, which is great, after like the strikes and COVID and all the other different various fires.
Oh yeah.
So I'm one of the few people that's like hopeful for next year here, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to be optimistic. So yeah, you were in the city for how long?
Yeah, we were in, I mean, to be fair, we were in like still the burbs.
Oh, okay.
We were in like Encino. I've been there for 10 years. Before that, I was in like Hollywood when we moved to LA. I moved to Hollywood.
Hmm.
And now we just kept trekking further and further out. So,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
as you do when you have kids.
I was gonna say, yeah, the city is a young person's hustle, I think, and then yeah, you gotta things have to get quieter at some
Yeah, I
point.
like being close enough to LA to like get in for stuff or to
Yeah.
because I love LA and I love the culture of it and stuff, but it
Mhm.
is genuinely very nice to like come home and it be like peaceful and quiet, and then I can selectively go into the chaos. And
Yeah.
dude, by the way, I as I have the last few, I love Nonstop, dude. It was great. It's like it's a great short. I'm so impressed. It's like I think what you've done, when we can talk about all that stuff, but
Yeah.
I think what you've done a really great job at is I don't know. I'm sure like any of us, we're still trying to find it, but like is finding your voice and it feeling like, oh, this is like if I were to watch all three of them, I would definitely be like, or the three that I've seen, I would definitely feel like, oh, I know it's the same guy, sort of thing. You know what I mean? I think that's really hard for people to do.
Dude, thank you so much. Yeah, that is the struggle right now for me is like, you just keep making stuff and trying stuff. And it's one of the reasons that I've done shorts in like quite a few different genres is just like because I fucking love movies. I'm sure like you and a lot of
Sure.
people. So it's like I want to make a dick joke comedy and then I want to make
Sure.
a horror film and I want to make something kind of psychological. And
Totally.
then like a dramedy that about, emotion and, humans being humans. So yeah, it's been a blast to just like explore that. And I would encourage any, filmmakers who are just getting started out there, like do that now. Do that fun stuff now of like just dipping your toes in different pools and like seeing what you like, what you think you're good at. I definitely have genres that I found I think I'm stronger in than
Sure.
others. And that's a knife in the heart too, because sometimes the one I don't feel like I'm as good at is the one I fucking love and really
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to be a
yeah.
part of. But yeah, it's been a blast, and I really appreciate you saying that. And we have that in common, actually. That kind of scrappy. Actually, I was just reading a few things about you yesterday, and there was a Variety article about the Crossing Over Express, a short film you made last year.
Yeah, into last year.
Yeah, end of last year. That if you haven't seen it, look it up. It's on YouTube, and very interestingly enough, and we'll talk about this more later. You debuted it on X, formerly known as Twitter,
Yeah.
which is kind of unconventional, but I admire it. And I think we'll get into more of that too, but I do want to talk about that. But
Yeah.
anyway, in an article, you were quoted as saying, I'm a big believer in creating your own opportunities. I don't wait for someone to choose me. And I think that we share, isn't it great hearing your own quotes back to you?
Oh man, if I could, what a great name. I should frame that.
Yeah, 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 totally. Yeah, that was profound. But but yeah, I totally agree with that. And just, even before reading that, I could tell just from like seeing the things you're doing that we kind of share a similar DNA. And I really admire the way that you're going about your work because it's just scrappy. It's yes, I don't have all the resources right now, but I do have some. And I'm going to make the
Yeah.
most of what I've got right now. And I just think it's super inspiring. I know I'm inspired by it all the time. And with your new one, Ovation, that we'll talk about more too, I'm just like, God, this guy is a fucking genius.
Oh,
So
that's
and
very kind.
the people that you're working with too, Noam Kroll, I've been such a fan of his podcast for so long. So shout
Yeah.
out to him. But yeah, dude, I'm loving that connection. So before we get into it though, you have been a guest on my podcast before. We were talking about a film you produced called Your Lucky Day on
Right.
Netflix. And we talked about you as getting in as a producer on that. We talked about you as a writer as well. But for people who have not heard that episode, I just want to do like the quickest introduction for you that you are, a screenwriter, director, producer, and actor. You've acted on some pretty big shows and had some parts in some movies. That's very cool. But you started as an actor, and then around I think 2012, you got into screenwriting, and that started popping a little more until was it around the pandemic when you had a manager or an agent tell you, "Hey, I think you should really get back out there as an actor as well."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I had taken about an 8-year break from acting, and then we made a little tiny indie called Faith Based that actually, like, the way it started was we were going to make it for 10 grand on our phones and basically like improvise this whole thing. And then I decided to kind of write a script for it. And then, we offered the role of my adoptive dad to the late Lance Reddick from like The Wire and John Wick. And,
Oh yeah.
this is a movie that paid $241 a day. So we were not expecting anyone to say yes. And he did, after a bit of he said yes. And then we were like, all right, we got Lance Reddick. We should probably, shoot it on real cameras. And then our DP was essentially like, well, if we shot it in this window, I have access to these 2 red heliums for free. And then we were like, amazing. Now we need like a crew to do that though, because it's not just you and an iPhone. And then it kind of kept getting bigger. And at some point in
as
that
they do, I found, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so suddenly it was like we raised a kind of a real budget, and by real I just mean $200,000, and we said, okay, we're going to make this movie. And I actually went to the director and I said, well, now that we have Jason Alexander and Margaret Cho and these people, I was like, we should recast us because I haven't acted in 8 years. You know what I mean? Like really. Mm-hmm. And so, to his credit, he was like, no, I want to keep you and the other guys' real life sort of chemistry and friendship, and we'll keep casting around you. And so we made that movie that did kind of get squashed in the pandemic. It came out a few months into the pandemic, but it did get good reviews. Like it's like 96% on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff.
Yeah.
And at some point in that process, like an agent at the time, now my manager, but an agent at the time, she was like, you want to get back into acting? And I said, no. I was like, no, I don't want to go back to doing like what I was doing before. I was just doing every bad student film and non-union commercial and just all that stuff. And she was like, no, we're going to use faith-based and kind of restart your career. And she's been like the best thing to happen to me. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's so cool to hear behind the scenes that she made that statement to you. And then, just a few short years later, seeing the shit that you've done. And it's like, oh, she was right. She knew
it's
what
cool
she was
to see. I mean,
about.
I honestly recently pulled up, and I think we should all be doing this no matter whether it's acting or writing or directing or really any aspect of life. I came across like 2 weeks ago, my reel that I had made like right when I got back into it. So she like took me on, and then I was like, I got to make a reel. And it was cool to like see that in comparison to my current reel 4 years later, just because I can see both like so much improvement in myself as an actor, but even just the level of projects and the amount of projects and stuff, you can kind of like have that moment of like, oh shit, I have actually been doing stuff for, it's not, because often in this industry when we're all just like, again, like you said, waiting on things, it often feels like, man, I haven't done something in this many months or whatever it is. And then you kind of like get a kind of a bird's eye view of it and see it better. And I think we should all, I bet if I were to like reread a script I wrote in 2019, I'd probably be like, what the hell was, like.
I've done it. You would. Yeah. I've done it. Yeah. I know it is really interesting. Not that long ago, I had a little weed edible, just a gummy.
Yeah.
And I got a little high and I watched some of my old stuff and then I just said, fuck it. And I went through the whole trajectory. It was this really narcissistic experience that I got to have, but I watched my whole filmography.
Good for you.
I was just like, I was like low key. Like there was a part where I like almost got emotional because I was like, man, I've come a long way. This is a lot of hard work. Like
I think everyone should do stuff like that. It's like, I watched one of the very first auditions that she sent me out on.
Yeah.
And it is so bad that I'm like, how did she not just like realize this was a bad decision?
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say it. It wasn't that bad, like not like drop the guy bad, but it definitely was like comparing it to like an audition I would have turned in 2 weeks ago or whatever. I'm definitely like, oh, thank God I like kept with it and kept working on it,
Sure. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's all about getting reps. It's just like anything. It's, I come from a skateboarding background as a kid. Like you just have to work really fucking hard at it and you have to love it, which we do. So yeah, it's great. And before we get too far into your new work, just for, anyone who doesn't know of you, at Luke Barnett on Instagram and Twitter, right?
Yep.
I thought
Actually,
so.
it's at Luke Barnett on Twitter and at I am Luke Barnett on Instagram because Luke Barnett was taken by an awful racist megachurch pastor
No.
who on a weekly basis ruins my news cycle.
Oh my God. Okay, that's really unfortunate because I've made this joke on the podcast before, but I also have a double out there at Andy Compton who owns the space ever since 2007 when I was still trying to do music. He owned the space on MySpace Music for Andy Compton, and he's a British DJ who's really, really popular and like obviously really good at what he does. He's been sustaining all this time. But anyway, he takes that space, but having a racist, what is it, megachurch pastor,
Megachurch
type person,
pastor,
yeah,
Phoenix,
that's a little
Arizona.
worse. But also, it's funny that you made faith based and you have that parallel out there as well. Like
It
that's
is hilarious.
funny.
Like, I need to know if there are like anybody that considers going to Dream City Church in Arizona and then suddenly is like, wait, he made this satire of the Christian film industry? I'm not
Yes.
giving him my tithe.
Oh my! There has to be at least one person who's had that Google confusion
There has
out
to
there.
be.
There has to be
There
at
has to
least
be.
one. That's so funny.
Did Pastor Luke make this blasphemous satire?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's hilarious. But anyway, for people who might not know you or what you like, I just want to ask, and I hope I didn't ask this on the last one. I don't think I did. It's a relatively newer question. It's real deep stuff. What are 3 movies that inspired you to get into this business?
Man, it's tricky because it's like I would say to what I've learned, and this has kind of had an effect on the last like 3 or 4 years where I do feel like I've kind of found my voice as both a writer, as a filmmaker, even as an actor, is I would say there was like probably like other aspects of life. There was almost like 2 sort of coming of age film moments for me. And there's like the like childhood movie magic. I want to be a part of this world sort of thing. And that was probably like Monty Python's Holy Grail,
Yep.
Jurassic Park, and probably like, man, maybe like Dumb and Dumber, honestly. Like in terms of just like 3 moments that I remember like as a kid kind of being like, either uncontrollably crying or uncontrollably in awe in the case of like a Jurassic Park, and being like, this, I can't believe this is a real thing. But then I would say like, weirdly, I was thinking about this recently, 2007, which I do still to this day think is one of, if not the best years for movies.
Yeah.
I would say is more the year that had a genuine like, okay, this is what I want to like do for the rest of my life sort of moment. I had like just moved to LA. The ArcLight Hollywood, which is now shut down, but is to this day probably the best movie going experience I've ever had in terms of both, a theater quality, but also just like being where everybody in town would go to the movies. And so like it's
the history
the most,
and everything.
it's the history, and it's also just like, it's so cheesy because you don't want like celebrity to be the thing that makes you want to do something. But at the same time, it was incredible to like have your local theater that you go to on a Tuesday and you're like at the bar with Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's like out of a movie. It's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, it just had that place had such an impact on me in that regard. But that year, I just remember like seeing There Will Be Blood, seeing No Country for Old Men, seeing Michael Clayton, like seeing these sort of like, sort of phenomenal dramas that like, I don't know. I think that was definitely like my year, and like probably like, those 2, like There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men, and then probably like what, I'm thinking of like, I would say like, I also at that same period was like trying to catch up on older stuff. So I want to say like I saw like Network that, that same time period. And I would say like those 3 are more my like second coming of age, like really made me want to do this.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I love all those picks. That's so good. Dumb and Dumber. I just told someone the other day, a photographer I was working with, and we're both comedy guys.
Yeah.
I was like asking him what his favorite comedy of all time was, but I was like, I think I know mine off the top of my head. It's Dumb and Dumber. It's
Dude.
Joke for joke. It's just so good. It's so dense, and all the jokes are evergreen. Like nothing
perfect.
super topical. It's just as funny today.
Totally. There's no like
Covering.
crutch of like you said, like being nostalgic or topical. It's just like
Yeah.
the same joke, especially seeing it like at that age, like the same joke of
Yeah.
like, the girls at the end coming off the bus and him being like, my friend's a little slow. The town is that way. Like is never
Yeah.
not funny to me, you know?
Yeah. One of my
Um,
favorite jokes in that is Jeff Daniels when they're in a hot tub in some nice hotel. And he's like talking about his ex. He's like, yeah, she was giving me a bunch of crap for not listening to her. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
it's just like it's
It's
so
so
good, man.
good. It's so good. And the
Uh,
way he just gets that off, like, it doesn't make a meal of it. It's just a little
yeah.
passing joke.
Well, it's funny. It's
So
funny though,
good.
because you talked about how sometimes it's a little heartbreaking when you realize the thing you're really good at maybe isn't the thing that you like so much, whatever. And
Yeah.
and that's kind of that was like a hard lesson for me in terms of comedy, because like when I started more focusing on writing from acting, I had this roommate who was really big into the comedy scene. She was working with the Farrelly Brothers and David Wayne, speaking of Dumb and Dumber, all the time,
Yep.
and she was kind of who got me plugged into Funny or Die, because she would work with them all the time on a like exclusive level,
Mhm.
and so I really like just that door opened, and I was like pushing hard into that, and then it was actually like being in post on Faith Based. I kind of realized, like looking back, all the stuff I had done at Funny or Die, all the ones that had like done the best or like had gotten the best response,
Mhm.
ended up at some point in this video going serious. Like it was weird. Like it
Mhm.
was like
Yeah.
all the ones that like worked were ones where it was like joke, 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 and then we're going to be serious now. And even Faith Based, it's like when I look back at Faith Based, it's like the things I like the most about the movie are all the stuff where it like goes a little more dramatic.
Yeah.
The first movie I ever wrote was the movie Fear Inc. And to this day, I like do not like the first 30 minutes of the movie,
Mhm.
and that's all comedy. And then I do like
Mhm.
the second, like the hour of the movie where it becomes kind of like a thriller. Even as an
Interesting.
actor and all this stuff, I definitely like learned in like 2020, 2021 that I'm like, I am way better, honestly, at either drama or serious writing, or I do think I can do well at being like the funny guy in a more serious thing. But
Yeah.
I think there's too many guys, at least as an actor, that are just so good at being on at all times, and they just
Mhm.
kick the door down on the comedy space, and they're born to perform in that regard. And
Sure.
I would find myself sitting in these commercial waiting rooms, just like annoyed while
Yeah.
they're all on at like an 11, cracking each other up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just not in that space. And
Yeah.
and I've had like a lot more. I don't know. I don't know if success is the right word, but I've found a bigger audience for sure as I started to make stuff that would have like comedy elements, but
Yes.
I would not go tell somebody like this is a pure comedy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I just
Yep.
don't think I'm that great at it. I think I'm good at like adding humor into other things.
Yeah, no, it's so funny too because I think I definitely resonate with that too. A feature that I was working on was just going to be a straight up comedy. I really wanted to make something like my version of The Hangover or something like that. And I've found that no matter what, I start drifting really far into character. And why are they doing like it's hard for me to just write kind of a mindless comedy, and I love mindless comedy.
Yeah, me
But
too.
yeah, it's I found it difficult. And then even like the comedies that I've put out, little short films of, like Us Plus One is kind of a play on, it's kind of a satire of like a romance.
Sure,
And then Captcha is obviously a
sure.
sci-fi thriller satire. So I'm always injecting other genres. I feel like even Nonstop, the newer one, which if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. It's
Like
it's
and
very much a
subscribe.
thriller. Yeah, like and subscribe, please, please. I need it so bad. But it's like a Jeremy Saulnier kind of thriller is what we talked
Totally.
about making, but it's also a dick joke comedy.
No, and I think
Yeah.
I think it's like sticking to your guns in that regard of like what works is when it works. Like I will say, and I know we'll talk about this more later, but like with our new one, Ovation, it was like,
Mhm.
dude, I can't tell you the amount of people who, when I was kind of playing around with the idea, would kind of give me I wouldn't say a note, but like their idea or whatever to like add to it was way more over the top, straight up parody, like comedy.
Right.
And I just kept being like, I think that's not what it's supposed to. I don't want to do that. Like, yeah, like, I even had somebody later on Twitter kind of, which really nice guy, really was like genuinely liked the short a lot, and he kind of messaged me being like, if you ever want to do another one like this, I think there's a lot of gold to mine here. But then like all of his ideas, I'm sure they're great for like that type of video, but they were all ideas that like Noam and I had literally thought of and talked about and been like, oh no, we want to do kind of the opposite of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and even on the day, I kept like telling the other actors, I was like, I know it's a long time for them to kind of be doing this. I was like, think about what they would do on Saturday Night Live for this, and then do the exact opposite. Because it's like, I do think there's like a good video of that, but that's not what I want this to be,
Yes, 100%. Dude, no, I fucking love that. And I think you made the right choice. That was the thing that I loved the most about it, was that it never went over the top trying to get you to laugh. It was just you earnestly getting through this 7-minute ovation.
Well, I think even with yours, it's like, if the concept is funny and the concept is the comedy hook, then you can like play everything else as if it's Macbeth, and then it's like, that's like, to me, when it's best. It's like, I like Lance Reddick, I think, was so good in comedies because Lance Reddick would like sign up to do Workaholics or something, but he would, even our movie, which was like, kind of a silly comedy, and he's wearing a green screen suit in our movie, and like Lance Reddick treated it like he was at the fucking Globe Theater. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's when it works. It's like, I think even on yours, the actors do a great job on yours, because when you take kind of a funny idea like that, like CAPTCHA as an example, there's an easy way to direct that or to act in that pushes into the joke and then is not good, in my opinion. It's like it becomes too much. It becomes like a spoof. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've told Ryan Myers, shout out to him, who played the robot in CAPTCHA. I've told him so much. I just love his performance because he never went for that comical robot. He played it just on the line where you're kind of wondering if he's a robot or not. And it was perfect. But I don't know if you've heard this too, but for the Naked Gun movies, when Leslie Nielsen was cast, he didn't quite get it at first. And they told him play this just like a dramatic actor would, like the fine dramatic actor that you are, and it's going to work. And it did. It's gold.
Well, he's the funniest one because it's like that movie was so successful, and he's obviously so great in it and whatnot, that for the rest of that guy's life, people to this day think of him as a comedy actor. Yeah. Even though when they cast him in that movie, Leslie Nielsen was a completely dramatic actor. Yes,
I know. And I thought, Liam Neeson, I was actually personally almost personally offended when I saw that first trailer for the new one.
Yeah.
It's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is like sacrilegious. We don't touch Naked Gun. And then I went and saw it, dude. It was funny as fuck. I really had a great time with it. It was super funny. And Liam Neeson just crushed.
Well, it was, I mean, there's aspects of Leslie Nielsen that I liked a little more, in the sense of, I think he was really good at playing this sort of aloof, ness. But that being said, in terms of like not having Leslie, then it becomes like there's not really much better you can get than Liam Neeson for that exact same situation,
Agreed. Yeah, it's a really hard thing to do, and like impossible shoes to fill for Liam Neeson. Yeah. So I give him all the credit in the world. He did a really good job. But I agree, the aloofness of Leslie Nielsen is one of the funniest. I love that in any comedy actor, someone who's just sort of a dummy. And we can see them trying to do the math of like a really simple situation. And like, I love that shit. I eat it up. But
I agree.
Where was I going with that? I forgot. So we're going to jump into a new thing. Actually, you know what? We were talking about Ovation already. And I wanted to talk about the Crossing Over Express too. But since Ovation is so new, maybe we just dive into that.
Sure.
So you put out a short film. Did you debut this on Twitter as well?
We did. We actually, no joke, we submitted to South by Southwest and Slam Dance the day before, and then just decided, screw it, let's just put it out.
I love it.
It was a scenario where, like, I was actually, credit to my manager, she was kind of like, because we were like, all right, this does have festival potential in the sense that it's very short. It's a comedy, which they like, and it's about film festivals. So we were like, if there's any short we've made that has like potential for like one of the bigger festivals, this was it. But then my manager was kind of like, just one thing to consider. It's like, how long do you want to sit on it? Knowing, because she basically was like, as a manager and a former agent, I can name maybe 3 total shorts that have ever premiered at Sundance. And all that to say, not to knock Sundance, I would love to have anything premiere at Sundance.
Of course.
But that just means like, I think especially in the short space versus features, I don't think it has the sort of like, like, again, nobody's like remembering them. So it's almost like you remember the thing that like took off online almost more than you might remember like some random short from a shorts block at Sundance. So
Agreed.
she was kind of like, how long do you want to wait on this? And then also keep in mind, the studio is going to come back out. They're surely still going to do an episode on the Ovations. She was like, it is a topical thing in the sense that like every year people comment on these things and make jokes. So is there a world where somebody just makes like a bad TikTok or like an over the top that's the same joke? Yeah. And she was like, you could still do it in that regard, but it'll definitely come off as like you saw that and then did your own versus like just putting it out now and then that's what everyone else is. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. And I know that like, yeah, I think so too. And it's like most film, 90% of the bigger ones now we're not eligible for, but like you never know. There might be like a slam dance or something that still says like, oh, this would be a fun button for our shorts block. Like who knows?
Definitely. For that specifically as a button on a shorts block, it would be so like I would be having such a good time with that.
Yeah. Like
if I was just sitting in a shorts block, I'd be like, oh, this is so smart. And to put it at the end is fantastic. But man, and it was kind of inspired by the response to Eddington at Cannes, if I remember right. Joaquin Phoenix standing there and just accepting that.
Yeah, I mean,
or at least that's what the Variety headline
exactly.
was.
No, every year we like hear those we see the videos and we hear the stories, and it's become sort of a competition of whatnot of who's going to have the longest standing ovation, and that always draws the commentary, and we've all had the same thought. But it was the Joaquin Phoenix one that I saw it was from Cannes back in February, or March, but I just saw it recently, and it just made me laugh because it was like somebody posted at the same time that the Rock's Venice ovation had happened. Yeah, and it was like and the video was titled like Dwayne Johnson cries at Smashing Machine premiere or whatever after 7-minute ovation, and to the Rock's credit, he kept it there the whole time and was emotional. Joaquin Phoenix has like a minute of it where it's like he gets emotional. He's there, and then the video I saw was only 2 of the 6 minutes, but you can tell the second minute of that is just kind of like we're still standing here. And it just made me laugh to like think of that.
Yes, I love a joke too that goes on so long that it goes in waves. It comes and it gets kind of funny again, and then it dips, and then it gets funny again. That is just like masterful in my opinion, and I loved your short for that. Also, it's funny to think of, for some reason, Joaquin Phoenix being in that situation, because one, I just think it's fun. He's not a comedian. He is a funny guy, but he's not a comedian. And very often in interviews and stuff, he's not trying to be funny. But him in that situation, it may as well have been like Tim Robinson to me to watch, because it's just funny. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. I find it inherently funny. Him being
agreed. And honestly, I almost didn't do it. Like I had the idea, and I texted Noam and I said, I have this idea, everything that I think we could shoot for like no money in like an hour. And then he liked the idea. And then like a day later, I just kind of was like, I don't know if this is worth our time. I don't know if this is worth doing. It's a funny joke, but and he actually was like, just go record it on your phone in your like room or whatever and send it to me. So I literally just like went in my bedroom and put my phone on a tripod, and I just kind of like improvised a 5-minute version of this.
Did you have like an applause sound going?
I had my laptop and I played another video. Like I played essentially a video of something else getting an ovation. And it was honestly the only video I could find that actually had a full like 7-minute take. So I like played that on a laptop, and I just kind of like went through an improvised version of it. And like 10 minutes later, Noam was like, we got to record this. It was kind of like, and it was easy to test. Like, and I like that about it too. Like, to be honest, we're like playing with some ideas of like a feature length version of not that wouldn't be just like that, like it would be a different thing, but it was kind of off the idea and also an idea that we could potentially do for like very, very little money.
Yeah.
But as we kind of develop it, we had a conversation yesterday where we were like, I don't think this is possible, but what would it look like if it was that short and we could figure out a version that was feature length, that's insane, that's total experimental film, where you have big beats, somebody comes in here, somebody does this, there's long conversations it's a whole thing.
Sure.
But it is locked off. It's the same way. And I don't think that's the route we're going to go with it. But the cool thing about it is I was like, if we beat it out, there's a world where we literally have you come over to my house and do exactly what we did with the short. And we just improvise this thing for 60, 70 minutes. Yeah. And either we're going to know, like, this is so boring after 15 minutes. You know what I mean? There's not enough there to sustain a movie. Yep. Or it's going to be interesting. And then we're like, well, we could shoot this in one day, like do 2 takes of it, and I don't think we're going to go that route, but it was interesting to kind of just like play around with the, like being able to like test something,
Yeah, no, I love that. And I would have the same reaction as Gnome is this is too fucking easy not to shoot it. We have to shoot it. Because it's the easiest thing ever to film.
Yeah. Like in worst case, it like doesn't work and we don't put it out. That's kind of, even when we did the short, we were kind of like, worst case, we have fun for 2 hours and then it's not very good. And so we don't put it out,
Yeah. Even if it was just like kind of a mild response online too, I wouldn't give a fuck. Because it's just like, we put out a funny video. Who cares?
Yeah. We took a few hours.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. I love that. And also from concept to completion, 5 days, about $50 was spent. And just a 2-person crew and a handful of actor friends. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about of like, you don't need everything you think you need sometimes. Can you reveal what kind of camera you guys use? Do you know?
Yeah, we shot on a Red Dragon.
Cool.
We'd had a scenario where we were actually up until the day before, Gnome was going to shoot it like on on a camera that he owned, a different camera. And he, like the evening before, he ended up calling his buddy Andy, who he had like worked on some like branded stuff with before. And he basically was like, hey, you happen to be like around tomorrow? And like, we're going to do this kind of silly video. And Andy really liked the idea and was like, dude, I'll bring my Red. Let's just like do it. And so, it just, and then we literally, like I had a connection to this place here in LA that's kind of a workspace called Fable. And it's, they had a thing where like for, $20 an hour or whatever, you can like rent the room, and it's mainly used like actors will like do self-tapes there, or dancers will like rehearse there, but it's just kind of like dark.
Is it black walls, plain black room?
Yeah, it's basically like a plain dark room, and then because of the actors thing, they do have these like 3 backdrops that you can choose between. We just used black, but like they had like a green one and whatever, and we just used black, and the walls were dark, and the room came with like 2 soft boxes that were like already kind of hung from the ceiling that you could move out. And again, it's like actors doing self tapes. Sure. And so we literally like used their 2 lights, added 1 like sort of small, kind of beauty light sort of thing. Otherwise we just used the 2 soft boxes. And it was a room.
The lighting looks fantastic. It's great.
Dude, and then that was literally like just came with the room. Had 1 extra light, and then the room was about the size of like a large bedroom. And so we literally were all just crammed in there. There was like 3 chairs for 9 people. Like we just literally, and we kind of timed it out where like we got there, set it up, and kind of like played around with the look of it with just me. And then basically all the other 5 actors got there at an hour later, and then we just literally did it 4 times. 4 takes. We'd tweak on each take, little like in front of the camera stuff or whatever, like have people do a couple different things, and then I think we used the 3rd take. That was kind of it.
Dude, I love that so much. And like, this, don't mean this to offend you at all, but like you could also look at it as almost like a glorified self-tape. And the
Sure.
fact that you had a
Totally.
few extras with you, and like, because it's just a stationary camera.
Yeah.
And I just think that's just such a fantastic idea. It's so cool to have such a good idea that can be done for so cheap and with so little, and that can actually like make waves on the internet, because it's like you said, it's a topical thing. Honestly, when I made CAPTCHA, I didn't plan on that to be like a very topical thing. I just thought it'd kind of
Yeah.
be a funny idea, and it kind of came out at a perfect time. And then there was like tons of. I don't want to say I came up with the idea first, because I don't know, and that is a low hanging fruit idea. Like if it wasn't me,
Sure.
it was going to be someone else. But afterwards, I saw like a bunch of TikToks, just people doing that joke. Am I a robot?
Sure.
I can't pass CAPTCHA. And then might have been last year's Oscars. The best short film went to
Oh,
someone who,
right.
yes, yeah. So that, I think it's I'm Not a Robot. It was
Hmm.
called. And a bunch of people sent me that link, and I was like, I'm sure that they had their own idea. Also, it just
Yeah.
looked way better than mine.
No,
But
it's tricky
yeah,
with those ideas that like everybody has the joke of. It's like, there's usually no you know, intention that there's somebody stealing your thing. It's like the
yeah,
ovation thing is the perfect example. It's like,
right,
half the reason my manager wanted us to put it out was because she was just kind of like, this is a joke people make of like, man, these ovations are crazy long. You know what I mean? Like someone's gonna
yeah,
do that. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. And she was right too. Timing wise, I do think that's inevitable.
yeah,
And also too, someone may have already done it. Who knows? But
totally.
the way you did it is fantastic. And like, I agree. Some ideas are just so right there in front of everyone's eyes that it's like you can't even accuse of stealing at that point, because come the fuck on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's having a nice little life right now on Twitter, and it's on YouTube as well. Correct.
Yeah, we put it on all of them.
Yeah.
And I've always gone back and forth on like how to release stuff and
I
and
was gonna say I'd love to sit on that for a second and just talk about the way you release things. So yeah, you're a multi-platform guy all at once. Just kind of dump it at the same time on a
I
few
think I am.
platforms.
I am now. I used to
Okay,
not be. I used to be more of like figure out a home for it, and then
that's where
push
I'm at
everyone.
now.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I think has totally solid reason. I think you could
Mhm.
make an argument for that for sure.
Sure.
I used to feel more that way. Now I think the reason I'm much more of a put it everywhere is simply because I think everyone has become like two things. One, I see it all the time, even with like influencers, like not even like short filmmakers, people who are just like putting up a TikTok every day or whatever.
Yep.
And I see now that even when they think about their views or they're talking about brand agencies and stuff, they put them all together and they say like across platforms or whatever. So I think it's less of an important thing to say, oh, this one has this many, et cetera. And I found that everyone, how lazy we've gotten as a society now is to a
Yeah.
point that nobody even wants to click through to another site. And so I found it all the
Yes.
time where I'll like put something on Instagram stories or whatever, and people don't even want to like click through to get to the Twitter or the YouTube or whatever. And
Yep.
so therefore I just kind of became like, you know, I'm going to kind of put the same messaging out there and just put it on all of them and
Yeah.
hope that like one of them sort of like takes off. And I tend to like when I'm messaging it to people or emailing it to people or whatever, I tend to like pick and choose which one I send them based off of like where they might live on the internet. And so it's like if
Yeah.
they're a person I know on Twitter, it's easy for me to send a in Twitter feed that's just easy to view, easy to share, all that stuff. And if
Hmm.
it's somebody I don't think is on there, then it's like YouTube's better because it's just a better all around player and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I honestly like have no idea what the best thing is. That's just kind of what works for me because I think it's easy to share it.
Yes. Yeah. Me either. I
What's
don't
kind
know
of your
either.
logic on there? Like, what's the logic? What's your reason for going YouTube?
Yeah. So, well, first off, I agree with everything you just said. Like, I think about that all the time, that people just don't want to click another link. I find myself doing it. not wanting to click that one extra step. It's really a bizarre thing, but you're right. I think it speaks to our laziness as a society. But so my thing is I like it to live on YouTube because it's, I guess, the way the algorithms work, like if a video is getting a lot of views and a lot of attention, hopefully the algorithm sweeps it up, and then it's kind of doing its own thing and gaining a new audience that would be outside of my circle.
Yeah.
That's the hope. It doesn't happen often. The most views I have on any one film is Fantasmic, and I think it's at like 32K or something.
Yeah.
Maybe pushing 33K, which for me is really good.
Great.
But it's just I don't know what the way is, but like with
well, you're also able to like build your actual channel up in that regard. Like one of the things that I've never, and I should do this more, but like because before the Crossing Over Express, I was never like directing or anything. I'd never had a reason to like try to build a YouTube channel really. Like I should almost do that now and put them all on there. So for me, it's always been like, well, this one I did with Gnome, this one I did with, with my buddy Tanner, this one I did with somebody else. And so there's just not a like home for it in that regard. So it's always just kind of been like, well, we'll put it on here and we'll put it on here and we'll see where it kind of catches,
Yes. Yeah. 100%. So yeah, that is the thing too, for me as a filmmaker. It's nice to have one home. And I just think YouTube is more accessible to more people than Vimeo, even though Vimeo was like the filmmaker's platform. I just would get more eyes on YouTube stuff. And I think that non-filmmakers and non-film people just trust YouTube more. They know how to work it. They know what it looks like. But with like promotion of films too, I've done something similar to kind of what you were talking about. Is I don't like to do the thing of putting a trailer out a week, even a day early. If I'm dropping a trailer, it's on the day that the thing just got posted. So that they can see this and be like, hey, that looks cool. Let me watch it right now. Cause I've gotten so many comments of like, where can I watch this? And it's like, well, in 3 days, and who knows what life is going to do in 3 days. So I have that. I guess I've taken into account the same thing you're talking about of like the way we behave online and the way that our attention spans are so short. I think
it's also like, and we could, I know people could kind of argue all day long about, supporting Twitter and stuff, but I will say this, one thing I found is the same way that like, whether you're a conservative or a Republican, the thing you can't deny is that conservatives own the podcasting space. Okay, so they crush it. Now there's lots of non-right-wing that crush, but like when you go look at like the top 10 podcasts, it's all right-wing conservative things. Yeah. And I think that like the way that they figured out how to like grift on their audience through this same thing, they're also doing certain things very right to get that audience. And I will say with Twitter, like a year ago, like right before the Crossing Over Express came out, it's like maybe a year and a half ago, Twitter fully revamped their video player situation. And it is so good in terms of like how you can share and the way that it's layered when like somebody, I can't even describe it right now, but like the way that you can like see the tweet while you're watching the video and it's just a built-in horizontal player. It's just done so well. Yeah.
Is it like a picture-in-picture thing? Sort of like the player moves to the corner of your screen and you can continue scrolling. Is that what you mean?
No. I mean like, like
when you scroll up on the comments, the video stays in the same place. Is that what you mean? Sorry, I'm dumb about this.
Yeah, like if I click on, like if I click on my video, I'm sure, it's just it's just like the UI, for lack of a better term, is really well done. Yeah. So like if I click on, the tweet, it's like it plays it at the top of this screen.
Oh, yeah.
Still horizontal, and I can make it bigger easily, but I could read that tweet, and it's just really, it's not clicking through. It's just all the same thing. It's just really well done.
This is such a fucking infomercial right now with me being so interested. Like, oh wow.
Yeah. But here, actually, the thing I noticed right before I released the Crossing Over Express, and like a big part of why I did it on Twitter first was I started noticing all these same right-wing podcasters who I don't like. but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see their numbers are staggering, started putting all their video stuff organically on Twitter. So all the Matt Walshes and the Joe Rogans, all these guys
Sure.
who I hate everything they say, but I
Yeah.
can't deny their numbers.
Yeah.
We're,
Yeah.
we're using it in this way. And I was like, why aren't all the left people taking advantage of this like way that they did their communicating and their sharing of video? And,
Sure.
and then the Crossing Express, the way it was so easily shared, I was like, "Fuck, this worked!" Like,
Yeah.
it's a I don't know, that was like a big part. Like their platform was like very much a part of like why I also wanted to be organically on there, especially if I'm already on there, so I'm already giving them my ad money.
Yeah.
Like they're already selling advertising just from my tweets. I might as well get to use their video feature.
100%. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's making me rethink kind of how I release because I mean, releasing in an exclusively online fashion, I mean, short films, what else are they going to do? Um, yeah, it's interesting trying to figure out the best way because it's not going to the cinema. It's hardly cinema. Well, once you're putting it on, even YouTube, it's
Sure.
like, is this cinema? But yeah, it's just a really interesting thing. And I would love to keep talking to other filmmakers about this because and I hope that other filmmakers out there will enjoy listening to this part because I think the screenwriters might have turned it off like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the filmmakers are into it. And I know
Totally.
I would be very interested in this conversation too because it's like we both said when we prefaced this, what neither of us fucking know
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do and what is the best way, but it's interesting nonetheless. So yeah, Ovation is doing well. And I wanted to touch on a previous work from last year that we talked about, the Crossing Over Express, which is this really emotional piece that I think is like I was just listening to I think it was the A24 podcast. This was a couple months ago, but it stayed with me. And it was Ari Aster and oh my God, I can't remember who else it was, but they were talking film and they
Bill
were talking.
Hader.
It is Bill Hader, and they were talking about just in one moment that, the most personal thing is always the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's so true. I think that anytime you write from a personal place, it really shows. And I know, like, peer scripts that I've read, and it's from a personal place. I'm like, holy shit, this is a gut punch because I know the context of
Yeah.
them. And this is just beautiful. And I think it's the best thing you've written. So, with the Crossing Over Express, it's a very beautiful story. Do you mind talking about it a little bit, what it's about and where the idea came from?
Totally. Yeah, I had for those who haven't seen it or heard the backstory,
Mhm.
my mom passed when I was in high school. So I was 17, and for a few different reasons, I really, between moves and my dad and stuff, I don't have any video of my mom, and I have very little pictures.
Mhm.
And I only give that context to kind of the point of it is that I basically haven't heard her voice in 20 plus years. And on my birthday, maybe 3 years ago, I get this text from a number I don't know. And it basically just said happy birthday. And it had a YouTube link, and I'm at the stoplight and I click it, and it's my mom. And I'm like, shocked. And essentially I pull over, and it's this video where she's talking into camera. And she's asking, she wonders what I'd become if I became a clown or a pastor. And she's saying she's proud of me. And I'm like crying in this parking lot, like, what the
It's
hell is
making me
going
emotional
on?
hearing this.
Yeah,
That's powerful.
it was crazy. And then, I watched like 3 times. It's probably about a minute and 10 seconds. And I finally, I text the number back, just like, what, and it turned out, a buddy of mine from high school, I'm still close to this day, John Catania, his dad, shout out to John Catania Sr., was moving and found these like high school VHS tapes. And apparently it was like an event our senior year that all the parents recorded like a message to the seniors, but they didn't end up using it. So he found this tape that had all these parents recording these messages 20 years ago. And he decided, knowing my situation, that he would cut it out and digitize it and like send it to me. And it was just the best gift ever. And at first I think I wrote, just as a cathartic thing, I wrote basically like the cheesiest Hallmark version of that same story happening, basically. And then I just kind of like put it away because it was really bad. And And but then like I don't know, a year later, I was kind of like wanting to make something. I know I'd done Your Lucky Day, and again, same as now, to be honest, in terms of like there's all these projects that have potential to be bigger, and you're trying to get made, and they just take so much time and money and so many yeses that I knew I wanted to just go make something. And
Yep.
so I kind of reopened that idea and thought, I'd at one point had an idea that was just kind of like, what if I could respond to this message that she sent me?
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of playing around with like what that would look like. And I, basically just had an idea of like, what if I turn this into a bit of a genre thing where it was
Mm-hmm.
this sort of fantasy, not horror, but like, had that element to it, of this kind of woman who claims to be able to raise the dead in the back of a truck. And so, so the short is essentially like, this guy gets to have this like final 2 minutes with his mom after this woman, supposedly raises the dead for him, and yeah, we shot it in one day, for like $4,000, and it was just one of those things, kind of like the Ovation one, where like you just don't know what I'll probably never have something. Again, connect in that way. Like that was another level for me in terms of not even like the numbers. Like the numbers were cool and all, but it was just like, to this day, dude, I get a message at least once a week or once every 2 weeks from somebody who sends me a message that is somewhere along the lines of, I lost such and such 3 weeks ago. I've watched your short 3 times. It's my new cathartic thing that I go to. And like, that's crazy, dude. Like, and that's the coolest. It's heavy. And I've had some of them that are like really heavy, and like other ones that are just funny. But like, to make something that like has seemingly affected people in that regard is like the fucking best thing ever,
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, and I could see that too, 100% watching it, the kind of feedback and comments and messages you would get. I made a much less poignant short film in 2021 called Ethan and Edna. It's about a guy and his grandma going on this little journey together.
Yeah, I loved it.
But got a lot of comments on that. Like, yeah, my grandma, she passed. This reminds me so much of her. She had a sharp tongue and all this stuff. And yeah, that feeling was really cool. Like, oh my God, I made something that like people are actually affected by. And I think the Crossing Over Express is that times 100.
I think you're right though about like the personal thing is like what people can really like connect to, and there's those, there's not that many. I mean, actually there are, but there's finding something that's like a universal feeling is what if you can tap into that, it's great, because it's like with ours, same as yours, it's like everyone has or will lose somebody, and so they can all relate to that aspect of grief or whatever it is. And I think it's the same with like a parent or something like that. It's it's like trying to tap into that in your own way is really a way to like connect with a bigger audience.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. And so that really took off on Twitter, and now it's available on YouTube. I saw like Short of the Week posted it. It's posted from a few different channels, which again like made me rethink my entire strategy, because I was like, I'm so on like, let's do one channel, keep it there, send all the audience to that one channel.
Sure.
Hopefully the views go up, blah blah blah. But your short did really well being on multiple channels on one platform and then on multiple platforms. And I think at that point it's like, well, yeah, isn't the point to get as many fucking eyeballs on it as you possibly can? Which I just think you've done a really good job of. Were you gonna say something?
No. I'm just gonna say that's kind of it. That's it for me. And it's still figuring that out, like what the best way to do that is. It might be better to keep it on one, and then it does better on that one. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think the best way is to get it in like a little over 3,000 theaters or something like that. That could be a great thing. Yeah, that's maybe one.
And I heard the best way is for them to give you a huge budget.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, $4,000, like a little more than that.
A little more.
Most of mine in recent years are right around there. Us Plus One we did for $1,000, but then like Fantasmic was $4,000. Nonstop was a little over $5,000. It's it's and even that's like dirt cheap. This is with like all the favors in the world being called in, and like friends working for free, and like just to make something.
It is crazy how it like adds up, and I think that's the argument to also do the ovations every now and again, is that like if you can, like Noam and I were talking about this recently, where we were like, because I'm doing another short that I had actually had planned before we even had the idea for Ovation. I'm doing another one in November, and it's like a little bigger, but by a little bigger, I mean like $6,000 or something like that. It's still tiny, and even that, because it's kind of there's some special effects makeup, and there's some stuff that I'm already like, this is gonna still feel tight. You know what I mean? Like even though it's one location and two actors and whatever else. But it does make the argument because we were like, every now and again, we should just go make something more like Ovation, like try to come up with the idea that's like, it's intentionally no budget, no crew, and it takes a half a day or whatever. And I know it's easier said than done, but we were just kind of like, what's the idea that like, you could come to my backyard, or we go somewhere and we just kind of steal it, and it's like an off the cuff, thing that like maybe it doesn't work, but if it worst case, you spent no money, you spent barely any time. We should do those more often versus just doing the ones that take a little more time and money. I don't know if that's the way, but it kind of made us feel like, why not just go make stuff every now and again,
Yeah, no, I am in the same boat, dude. And I think recently, I can't remember. I don't think it was you. It might have been you, but I saw someone say, could have been Twitter, could have been an interview or something, that isn't it always the idea that just hits you and it all happens really fast? Aren't those also the best things? And I found like with Captcha, that was the first one that like really anyone gave a shit about that I made.
Yeah.
And it was a thing that like, I went to a friend's house and we were just like starting like a little collective to make sketches essentially.
Yeah.
And I had that idea. At first, the idea was just two guys, roommates, can't solve a Captcha, and they start just losing their minds, and it was going to get real trippy and like bizarre, almost like a Beau is Afraid type of craziness. And then I went home and wrote it, and it became something different. That thank God, because it was much more shootable.
No, it's great.
Yeah, but it happened really fast, and then within like a few weeks, we were shooting it, and it took 2 days, and I think $250, and there we go.
Crazy.
And it happened. And the short I had made before that was Ethan and Edna, which spent like $3,500 on, and it didn't do nearly as well. So it's weird, man. Like sometimes you just you catch an idea that works.
I think what I've learned from all of it, and this is surely the same with just screenwriting, is it's 100% about connecting with people. And that's obviously the hardest part, but it's the most important. Like I would say the Crossing Over Express has done more for me in every regard than any of the features that I've been a part of, including faith-based, probably including Your Lucky Day, although that one's like close. But like of everything I've been a part of in terms of indie stuff, I've produced like 6 features and all these things. I would say the Crossing Over Express and Your Lucky Day, and then we'll see, maybe Ovation would definitely be like the 3 things that I feel like I've been a part of that like did connect with people the way that I was hoping they would. I've made plenty of things where I was like, oh, this is gonna connect, and then it didn't at all, or it did fine, you know what I mean, whatever it is. So I think it's like, it's way less about the budget or the whatever it is. It's just more about like that idea that like people really resonate with. And like, it's like, Ben Everard on Twitter is always kind of like constantly saying that concept is everything. And I think people always think when he's talking about it, they're thinking about it for their scripts to sell to the studios or whatever, which is, I know what his intent is there, but I think it goes for everything because it's really like the same exact. It's not any different. Like when I think about why Your Lucky Day, Crossing Over Express, and Ovation have connected with people more than my other ones, I can almost go back and be like, well, the concept is like the whole thing. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah, totally. I mean, and in this business too, log line is kind of everything. I mean, it's your first impression, and when you hear a magic log line, you're just like, oh shit. Yeah. Make that yesterday. That's incredible.
Yeah. Or like, anytime it's cliche, but like anytime someone is like, how has no one done that? Or how did I not think of that? It's like, well, that's how, it was like a good concept,
Yeah, exactly.
I'll also say like for anyone who's listening, who does make their own stuff or wants to go make their own stuff, I teach this class at Art Center in Pasadena where students are making their kind of film thesis short. So I watch like these hundreds of shorts all the time. And I'll say my biggest takeaway is that you can have a short that is, I guess my takeaway is that writing and acting are like everything, because I have seen hundreds and hundreds of shorts where the DP is genuinely amazing and he crushes it and the music is phenomenal. But if the writing and the acting are bad, the short is still bad. But
Yes.
I've also seen a bunch of shorts there where it looks like a first year student with an iPhone shot it, and the music's so and whatever else, and the acting and writing is great. That short's still pretty good, you know.
And you can improve on those technical aspects. I mean, you can improve on everything if you keep practicing and stuff. But I was just talking to a couple writers this morning about, like, you know, screenwriting is something you can definitely build on, but I think part of it, like, you have to kind of walk into it sort of having a little bit of that already in you. And I think it just comes from, like, an understanding of movies. If you were just a movie kid and grew up watching movies, you can kind of walk into screenwriting and be like, well, I know how a movie is supposed to feel.
Yeah.
I know, you know, I know the difference between genres and certain tropes and elements of genre that hopefully I can pull it off. And that's kind of how I walked into it. What I really needed to know was structure. And then, of course, I kept getting better at writing, of course. But, like, even my first stuff, though, I kind of like I feel like I had a vision, you know, like I feel like it could have been a movie. And it's weird, like, but all those technical aspects, lighting and camera and all that shit, that'll come. A lot of that's money.
I think it's also like, and this kind of could sound harsh, I don't mean for it to, but I look at this like, if I'm as an actor, like, thinking about working with somebody, or they've, you know, sent me something, it's like, I don't know that you can teach taste. You know what I mean? Like, you can improve the skills of all those things, but, like, if your taste is generic and you're kind of like just who you are is a bit generic, then like, it's hard for me to imagine that the art that you create is suddenly going to be so outside the box. You know what I mean? And so I think about that a lot, where, like, most of the directors as an actor that I've had an experience with that I was kind of like a little disappointed by, they were really nice guys who genuinely were very skilled technically, and, like, by no means made something bad. But I kind of, in hindsight, was like, oh, well, yeah, now that I'm, like, thinking about it, that guy's taste is super middle of the road, generic, very, like, Bed Bath and Beyond as a person, and his taste in movies, and just their general vibe as a human being. Like, why did I expect that this thing that I am in would suddenly be, like, the most, you know, stylistic thing in the world? You know what I mean? It's like, you can't, I think that's just kind of ingrained into you a little bit, you know?
Yeah, no, that's so true. And we did just lose Bed Bath & Beyond as a sponsor, but I'm not too worried about it. That's okay.
I'll write a letter, apologize publicly.
Yeah, please. No, I agree. And you basically said what I was trying to say in a much more concise way, but I so agree. It's taste. Taste is everything. And you can see that from, like you said, a first year film student. Like, sometimes a kid's just like, they're onto something. Like, that's I love actually seeing that short film from, like, someone who's just getting started, that you're like, there's more there. Like, that's going to be someone to watch.
Well, dude, I had a student reach out to me this summer, and he had graduated, and he was kind of like, hey, I wrote this thing, and would you be in it or whatever? And I read it, and I like remembered him from the class, and he was actually somebody who, when he was like 23, got into the Sundance Lab. Oh, wow. So he did the Sundance Lab at 23. Then he came back to school, like, at 30 to get his MFA or whatever. And
oh shit!
And I just remember, like, watching his stuff and being like, dude, this guy's super original. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna make something weird and original and, like, whatever. And so when he sent this to me, I kind of got, like, halfway through reading his short, and I was like, dude, I'm in. Like, let's just do this. You know what I mean? And it's like, who knows what it'll do? But, like, part of me, I was, like, more excited about doing that guy's thing than some other stuff I've been sent with, like, a real budget, where I was like, fuck, this is, like, not good at all. But there's, like, a real, you know what I mean? I'm like, should I do this? Just
sometimes there's a paycheck that you're like,
it's
yeah,
like,
sure, I'll do it.
You're kind of like, oh man, I don't know. But I was more excited about doing this former student's short, just because I was like, man, he's a cool as shit dude who's probably going to make something cool as shit, you
Yeah,
know?
interesting artist. Yeah, I think like if anyone out there has seen Ari Aster's AFI short film, The
Sure.
Strange Thing About the Johnsons, have you seen that?
Insane. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. But like from that, you're just like, this guy is going to go on to make some shit that a lot of people are disturbed by and a lot of controversial things, I think. And like, and he's followed through on that. And like, like we could talk about his filmography, but like, there's like, I think Beau is Afraid was the first one where I was like, kind of crazy to the point where I couldn't stay with it, but I still
Yeah.
really, the technical filmmaking was unreal in that movie.
Yeah.
And
It was still a
Joaquin
little
is
too
great.
much for me, but
Yeah.
I
But
still
then
respect it.
me too. And it's such a huge swing. And like you're saying, like with that kid being in his film, it's like, well, he's going to make something weird and bizarre and very artistic and very original. Like, why not? And that's what I look at Beau is Afraid. Everyone says it's such a huge flop, but I'm like, he still you can tell he made the movie he wanted to make. And he's
Yeah.
a very bizarre, interesting artist. And we have to respect that. And I think Eddington is fantastic. I really love that.
Yeah, Eddington's top 4 of the year for me. And it's like, and I think Eddington was a great example of like, all right, he took this huge, crazy, weird swing on Beau is Afraid, but like good for him. And
Yep.
Eddington was like, you know, almost his most, not that it did numbers, but like in terms of genre, it was definitely like his most sort of mainstream movie. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah,
was
a
like,
departure from horror.
yeah, it was like seeing
Yeah.
him kind of make what an Ari Aster thriller looks like or whatever. You know what I mean? Is like,
Yeah.
it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, and I remember an early interview after Hereditary, he talked about like I have scripts in all kinds of genres. Like I have a Western, which we now know was Eddington, but he
Yeah.
was like, I have a sci-fi movie. And I've been thinking about that for years. I want to see the Ari Aster sci-fi movie. So
Yeah.
like the intelligent but also bizarre sci-fi. I really want to see that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, man. So, yeah, those are the two things that you have out. By the way, you can go and watch either of these, The Crossing Over Express. You can go watch Ovation. Please do. Luke is really someone to follow. I so admire what you're doing, and I was wondering what you have up next. Oh wait, actually, before that, real quick, The Crossing Over Express. There was some talk in the Variety article about it potentially moving forward as a series. Is
A
there any
feature.
kind of update on that? Oh, it's a feature. Cool.
Yeah, we're like on a third draft, working with some great producers on
Yep.
that's been awesome. And it's yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think, you know, we've got that's kind of the next, that's like where my focus is right now in terms of writing, is this third draft of that script. And
Cool.
we have this other project that was set up at Mike Flanagan producing, that kind of all happened in the midst of The Crossing Over Express. It got announced somewhere in there. It's kind of a weird different take on a zombie movie. That's kind of,
yeah, I think we might have talked about that a little bit in the last episode, but
yeah. So we like that, and it's but again,
Cool.
I guess why I'm such an advocate for like what you're doing and what other people I think should be doing is that all of these things just take so much time, and they require so many people to say yes. And I feel that way about it as a writer. I feel that way as an actor. Like, you know, I love getting to write something. I love getting to act in something, but they just require so many yeses that I think you know, if you can make stuff yourself in the meantime, it only is going to like keep the momentum going for those other things. Like most of those other things that I have going on right now, it have either happened because of, or definitely been helped by these smaller things that I made myself, kind of like getting out there and just being available. Cause it's like, it sounds cheesy, but it's like that whole like squeaky wheel or whatever. It's like, it's true. It's like people don't just like go looking for you. So you kind of have to be like making stuff or putting stuff out there to both keep your skills sharp, but also like to create those own opportunities, you know?
100%. Yeah. I just the other morning we're trying to get a feature of mine financed, and I'm attached to direct, and I haven't directed a feature yet, so it's fucking really hard
Totally.
to get someone to trust you. But yeah, someone I guess with connections to financing liked the script and wanted to see a couple of my shorts, so I sent them my little scrappy St. Louis shorts, you know, just to give
Totally.
them a preview. And you know, had I not been proactive in the way that you're being proactive and just trying to like take control of what you can control, sure, I don't come from money. Yes, I don't have an uncle that works for, you know,
Yeah.
Paramount or whatever. What can you do?
Yeah.
And there are things you can do. Ovation being a perfect example, because you guys could have shot that on an iPhone 16 and it would have looked really good too.
Yeah.
I think like the iPhone 16s I just got one is why I'm saying this, but
Oh,
I
I don't
was
have one yet.
shocked. Yeah, so we did a music video that's hopefully coming out, in the next month or so. But me and my friend Nick, who's a rapper, Nick Gann, his name's Nick at Night. If you guys want to look him up, he's
Amazing.
really cool. Him and his friend Jamal, well, our friend Jamal, goes by Kong. They did this like joint album. They've done two, and we went and shot this video. But leading up to it, we did a test of a one take that goes down this entire sidewalk while Nick raps a whole verse. And I just walked backwards with my iPhone. And when we looked at it, we were like, dude, let's just use this.
Yeah.
We didn't. We actually shot on Alexa.
Yeah.
But it
But
was,
it could. You could have.
yeah, you could. And like something simple like Ovation, which, not to demean it, calling it simple, because it looks great
No.
and it is great. But something like that where it's stationary, you could totally do that and no one would give a fuck. It's that thing of what you're saying of like, some things are shot on a potato, but the writing and the acting is so captivating that like, it's why found footage worked so well and had its
Yeah.
moment, is like, if you get talented actors and an interesting story, people lock in, even if it's shot on an old Sony Handycam or whatever.
True. I mean, if I only hope Ovation does one thing in that regard, it's that I do hope it encourages more people to say, I rarely regret making something, even if it doesn't turn out how I wanted it to. It's like I never
Same.
have that. I've had lots of moments of where I regret not making something, but like I definitely never have a moment of like, man, we shouldn't have wasted our time doing that. So it's kind of like, whenever somebody is like, how do I go make a thing, or I can't raise, how do you make something? Even the Crossover Express, it's like I've had a lot of people be like, yeah, sure, but you spent $4,000 on it or whatever, and I'm like, I get it, that's real money, but like,
It is.
Ovation is an example of like, it doesn't have to cost $4,000. You know what I mean?
No.
Like you can make something. Especially if you have a community of people that are willing to like be a part of it,
Yep.
that's good.
Yep.
Everything.
And that's a huge point too. And we can kind of wrap up with this, but I think building that community wherever you are, if you're somewhere in some kind of small town and you really just don't even know how the hell you would start doing this, find a community college that has a film class, maybe
Yeah.
with some film students. Just try to find like-minded people. Hang out at your local, if there's an indie theater in your town, like just start talking to people. Really weird. I don't like to do it. Networking is not a super strong suit of mine, but you have to I forget. I was listening to some really big director recently who was saying how networking wasn't a strong suit of theirs. And they were talking to some old school producer who's done a bunch of huge stuff. And they were like, well, you better learn to get good at it. And it made me think about that like, yeah, this isn't a thing I can just keep saying I'm not good at. I have to try to get better because it really never ends either.
No, I agree, and they're everywhere. I mean, like the director of Your Lucky Day, good buddy of mine, Dan Brown. He lives up in Ashland, Oregon now, and like, not that he needs it for the like industry sense, but like he at their local indie movie theater. It's like he was hanging out there a bunch and found out there was like an indie film club, like these guys that like meet once a week to go to a movie, and literally like he's found his like kind of film community in Ashland, Oregon. So it's like while I do think there are benefits to LA and stuff, I think that you don't by any means need to like be in LA to like get a community of people together that want to make cool stuff. You know what I mean? You're the best example of that.
Yeah. I would say one of the hardest places would be in like a farm town. It might be tough. You might have to consider moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving to the next biggest city, like Kansas City, Missouri is fucking thriving now.
Yeah.
St. Louis has a pretty nice community, but yeah, they're everywhere. There's universities with film programs where kids are hungry to make stuff, and yeah, you can be a part of it. So there are ways, and I guess that's the whole the thesis of this podcast is go make your thing. Go find a way. It's not easy. It's actually really hard too, but how that's what's going to weed out the people who are actually going to, be able to sustain a career is like, you have to love it and you have to accept that challenge that every new thing is hard as fuck to make and get started. And like you said, there's so many no's along the way that like, you might have 7 years on a project and then it gets to a week before shooting and it dies. That's happened to people and it's dead. Like, we are not making this movie, that's gone. And you're just like, okay, what did I just spend 7 years of my life on? So always have more irons in the fire than you think you need. That's something I'm focused on right now, is like getting my writing game up again and just trying to get more features out there.
Yeah.
I spent
I
a
agree.
while sort of resting on my laurels and sort of making short films, trying to get my directing skills up, which is a necessary thing. But yeah, I'm back to it of I just need to get more irons in the fire.
No, it's great. I totally agree. Good stuff. And also
Yeah, man.
support Bed Bath & Beyond. They're actually not a generic company at all. I actually think you should support Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah.
Use code Barnett for 20% off.
Yes. It's crazy to say when you have your own discount code, but to insult them earlier.
Yeah, I forgot to let you know I'm also sponsored by them.
Yeah. I see the furniture back there.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't even know. I guess they sell beds, baths, and
They
beyond.
also sell old pianos. No, yeah.
All right, man. This was fantastic. Thank you
dude.
so much for coming back on, and I just wish you continued success. You're killing it.
Yeah, you too, man. Appreciate you.
The Social Screenwriters